We did our first production in February 2020. It was my one-woman show, How to Kill Your Baby 101, which is a story of a young mother and her horrific journey through postpartum depression and perinatal mood disorders. So it's a bit quirky, but it's also pretty real. And it featured at a horror theater festival in Montreal called Festival de la Bête Noire, and at the Mainline Theater. The thing about my one-woman show, too, is that when we started out, it kind of started out as a spoof. Like with my producer, Eric, he and I were like going back and forth like dead baby jokes, and we were going to do all this like really spoofy stuff. And I think as I got more and more into the writing of the actual story, like the mother's story, because it was kind of two different stories simultaneously. There was a story of the kind of mad scientist almost, or mad lecturer, talking about infanticide and, like why mothers go crazy and, kind of in like tongue in cheek. And on the other side was like my story and, the tragic, sad, horrific side of it. And the more I wrote that side of things, my director, Zag, said, no, let's keep it real because this is really good stuff. This is really, it's deep and it's powerful.
Do you want to give the name, or are people going to be able to look it up on Google and find a lot of information on the...
Sure. I don't know. I don't know. How to Kill Your Baby 101.
Because you told me that once that you didn't keep... You like it when it's ephemeral, or it's like it's been done, so you don't need any physical proof of it existing, or it was for you, it was to process...
Yeah,
something.
But that was before I realized that it could have more impact, that if we did it again, that it could still have impact.
Well, I think you should make a film out of it.
Yes, I know.
But you don't want to do it again. You've processed the emotions.
I do. Actually, you know what?
Wouldn't it be uncomfortable to redo it?
So a woman that I spoke with recently about it recommended that I hire an intimacy coach. This is a new thing. This is a new thing. I don't know that much about it, so I don't want to go into great detail. But basically, it's a person who can work with performers or artists to help them deal with some of those more intimate, more personal
because you got to delve
material.
back into the tough emotions that you got rid of when you finished the play. Like when you were done the play, I don't know if I remember it correctly, but I think you told me that it was like, it was over. You got rid of the... It helped you to...
Exactly. I didn't feel the need to go back and do it again.
Yeah. It must be tough to go back there.
Well, it's funny because I didn't feel that way as I was performing it. And I performed it 3 times. So I didn't feel that way. Like, I performed it the one night and then I was okay to go back and do it 2 and 3. But I guess given a little bit of space, I was like, oh, okay. In creating the show, I was just telling my story. And, I was aware of the pressure that I had on me to tell not only my story, but the story of my aunt. I guess I haven't talked about the show, but it was about postpartum depression. And my aunt, Dode, committed suicide when her youngest was only 5 months old, and she had a toddler as well, my cousins. And I told a part of her story in the play. And so I knew already that I had like a responsibility. I also told the story of a young mother who threw her baby from the 8th floor balcony of her apartment when the baby was 2 weeks old. And I heard that announced over the radio. My son was only a year old, I think. And I heard it just as it had broke in the news. And it was in
probably all over
Toulouse.
The media. Oh, in France. Oh, it was.
Yeah, it was in. Yeah, because I was living in France at the time, and I was actually visiting my in-laws in the south of France. So it was just all. anyway, I told a part of that story in the play as well. So I already knew that there was like a responsibility, there was a heaviness, there was a, I was not just telling my story, I was telling theirs as well. So I had to honor that. But then after I saw the audience reactions, and some of them, like a friend of mine, she left the play, I think, immediately after seeing it. She cried all the way home. And it took her a couple of days, but then she wrote me like a 5-page email just telling me like all the things that it brought up for her. It kind of made me realize like this is impactful, not just on myself, or even it wasn't just on mothers either. Like my brother came from Kingston to see it. And he said, I spent the 3 hours driving home going, oh my God, I have to thank my wife when I get in the door, like for being a superstar, mother of our children. And
but I mean, as a person on the stage, is that enough to drive you to continue doing the show, knowing that knowing that those emotions are still there, and you're doing the play no matter, even if the emotions are still there and burdening you? It's
just natural. Yeah. And sometimes you got to push it. And I know like the show that we recorded, I was pushing it the whole time. That audience it was difficult. Like it was there were more men in the audience for that last performance. And I could feel there was a different energy. Not that they weren't as affected, but there was a different energy. And I had to really push it.
To reach them?
There was some kind of wall. And I had to just keep
because they didn't
pushing.
Understand? They didn't understand the character?
It was an energetic thing. I can't explain it because it's not like I really noticed that they were men in the audience. It was only after the fact that I said, oh, that was a tough audience. And they were like, oh, well, And I was like, oh, okay. Because you don't really notice that when you're performing. You don't notice things like that. You more notice, like, how does it feel when you go out on stage? Did that one go as smooth as the last time? Or, was I being, was I relying more on technique that time? Or was I able to just completely let go? But there was one scene that I love. It's sort of the part I love the most was the turning point. And it was actually, it was a scene that I had basically improvised or devised in the fall before the festival, before I had really started writing the play. And it was during kind of a showcase event for artists. It was called the Free Falling, monthly Free Falling, and we took place at the Freestanding Room. And it was just an opportunity to go and try something out with an audience, a small audience of like other artists. So it was kind of like, low pressure, that became the axis for the play, where I went from being kind of a funny lecturer to like I really turned into the mother who had lost control. So, and it's funny to watch it again because at the beginning, the character comes out, the lecturer comes out with a baby, not a real baby, obviously, and starts to interact with the audience and kind of, in a way, places the baby in the audience's arms, or it's someone in the audience in their arms saying, oh, here's your baby, and you did so well, in the delivery room, and, what a star you were, and blah, blah, blah. And sort of like being that midwife type of thing, or doctor or nurse or whatever. And the audience was quite, laughing about it, especially when you include the audience like that. The person who's being included is singled out and quite, nervous about it. But the rest of the audience is like, oh, this is great. It's not me. And so they were like going along for the ride and kind of laughing a bit. And there were some kind of funny things in there. Like at some point I said to the woman, oh, the baby's probably got gas, are you breastfeeding? You must have been eating spicy foods, and this is like what a lot of the mothers in the audience could relate to, and kind of laughing at it. But it turned. So it kind of went from this like nice interaction with the audience to it started to get like really tense because the baby starts to cry. And then we're into like, we got to get the baby to stop crying. And at first, I'm there as the guide. And after a while, I become, in my mind when I was creating this scene, I become the postpartum depression. I become the illness. And I start to say negative things. And I start to bring out the fear and the anxiety and the out of control. And so by the end of it, I was screaming at the audience. And you could tell at that point they were like not laughing anymore. And yeah, it was a risky move. I think it only worked because all the things leading up to made the character endearing and made, the audience have sympathy or empathy or compassion. But at that point, it was my job as an artist to really have them experience what it was like to be inside the mother's head. And then there it was.
But that was the purpose of the play. I mean, you couldn't be nice the whole time. That would have been, people were there for...
They didn't know why they were there. I mean, look at the title. It's called How to Kill Your Baby 101, and it was at a horror theater festival. Like, people probably thought they were going to come in and see dolls' heads being chopped off or something. Like, they had no idea, what to expect. I mean, a lot of the audience I had already, they were there for me, so they knew. And I did say in the program, that it was about, a mother's descent into postpartum hell. But again, I don't think people were expecting it to be as real as that.
So it was dark comedy.
I don't even know how to describe it. There was comedy in it. It was not dark comedy because it doesn't end on a comic note.
Yeah,
I don't want to give it all.
No, exactly. Well,
I mean, it's not available right now yet, but
it should be.
But I definitely, at this point, if moving forward with it, I would put an element of support into it, because I think that's important too. If you're going to put material out there that's triggering or that's really psychologically, moving, you should have something.
A warning or access to resources.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I told certain friends of mine not to come see it because I knew that they were still kind of in the trenches.
And did they go?
No, some of them, they said that they couldn't. They couldn't go. Yeah.
Well, that's a good marketing scheme for. Please don't come to this show because you're gonna.
Well, I mean, it's a responsibility on the artist's part as well.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Well, with everything that you're doing now, or like this new media, these new developing the production company and testing out the OBS and dabbing in video editing, are you working out the kinks to eventually be in a position to direct or produce the show in a film format?
At this point, I really want someone else to just say, I will do it. I will do it for you.
But you want to direct. You want to have like a...
I would love to have an involvement in it, for sure. Yeah.
I think you should, because you're... Yeah. You know the energy. You know the emotion. Yeah. You know the...
Well, I think the play itself has to go on.
Yeah, for sure.
So we have talked about the idea of publishing it. And then... at the beginning, a couple of friends who were working on it with me, they suggested, we could do this as a film and, at some point someone said, we could even publish it and someone else could perform it and it could be seen all over the world. And I was like, no, it's mine.
Oh, yeah. No, but it has to go.
Someone performing my story, like me? Yeah. No. So I was a little bit possessive on first reaction, but now I'm not. However, I am a little bit possessive in the sense that I would love to cast someone to play the role of the mother. I would love to direct it.
Okay.
Because one of the hardest parts about performing in a play that I had the overall vision for was that I wanted more from my actor. And I was the actor. And as a director, I believe that I can really bring something out in my actors. You know, I don't know, I love directing. And I was actually going more towards directing in the first place. Like I was kind of, I'm starting to get like stage fright.
Tired of the stage?
No, just stage fright.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You seem like, no, you're not afraid of the camera and the stage. You are?
Yes.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, I am.
Welcome to the Ericzone Podcast. Please go have a look at the YouTube. Please like the Facebook page. Content creators, they need your vote of confidence. They need your likes and your shares. So thank you very much.